do business, don't worry about competition. There's nowhere in this world there's no competition. You have to get used to it. You cannot stop globalization. The world is getting so small. If you cannot stop it, improve it. Forget about the competition today. It's like a 10,000 meters running. For the first 200 meters, don't think that guy is the competitor. Keep on running. 3,000 meters later, you will know who's the competitor.
He's got that quality that I think unites so many people who are ultimately successful. He's relentless.
Think about internet is the opportunity for small business.
He's sort of like a Pied Piper of the internet in China.
Don't miss this chance.
First, he attracted employees.
How you doing? Nice to have you.
And then he attracted millions of businesses to build their business on his platforms.
40 countries this year, 870 hours.
40, like 46.
46 countries.
We know that we have to be humble. We have to serve our customers.
Jack Ma has done a phenomenal job to create a business that is second to none in the world. He is the largest retailer.
The investors may not like us. If the customers like us, we have the futures.
I heard they call him Crazy Jack Ma. I think it takes a little bit of craziness or madness to achieve anything.
Smiling, nobody blinking.
I was born in a very normal family and poor family. 6 people share $7 a month. We can only eat 1 chicken a year. It was terrible. Nixon visited my city, 1972. China, USA signed, Mao Zedong-Nixon signed the agreement. So China became open door. My city, Hangzhou, was one of the first cities that opened to the West. We got a lot of American tourists to visit my city.
What he would do is he would befriend foreign visitors who came to Hangzhou to walk around the West Lake there.
And I learned English by being the free guide for tour guide.
You know, more than the language, Jack was learning about the culture.
The things I learned from books from China are so different from the things I learned from the American visitors. So I started to think differently.
You know, in China for so many decades, the kind of personal ambition that he exemplifies was suppressed. That when Deng Xiaoping came along and sort of took the top off of things and said, it's okay to have your private ambition to make something of yourself. It won't get you in political trouble. This was a kind of an invitation for people like Jack Ma.
His goal was always to create something that would change China.
When I tried to be a policeman, rejected. I tried to be a KFC person, rejected. I want to be a hotel waiter, rejected. So I get used to it. As an entrepreneur, one of the quality I have is that when I'm rejected by people, I get used to that.
The road to wherever we all end up is not always perfect. It's paved with lots of difficulty and challenge and failure, and you have to summon up some sort of strength within you to believe in yourself.
Jack Ma grew up in relatively modest means, and then he became a teacher. By all accounts, that's sort of where he expected to be for quite some time.
Then I came to America in 1995.
First trip to the States, and first time in my life I touched the keyboard of computers.
And he started searching things on the internet. When he searched China, nothing came up in the search results. So he said to himself, if I can put Chinese companies on the internet and allow them to connect with business people in the US and other countries, I could create possibly a really powerful business.
I call myself at that time called like a blind man riding on the back of blind tigers. Without knowing anything about technology, computer, we started the first company.
He's gone against all convention. He says that he doesn't know anything about technology. It's hard to believe.
When he started his first company called China Pages, he would go knocking on the doors of government officials. They would really just turn him away, saying that what he was doing wasn't appropriate. He should just go back to maybe teaching English.
This was opening day for something called Windows 95. It has something to do with computers.
With Deng now gone, China's future will be shaped by a great power struggle.
Well, 1997 proved to be a watershed year for Asia, the year when the Asian economic miracle became a thing of the past.
There seems to be no stopping the speeding tech train. Technology stocks keep climbing into record territory.
2000, when the internet was starting to boom in China, a friend told me that there's a company trying to go global from an apartment in Hangzhou.
18 years ago, in my apartment, I told the 18 founders that one day we will build up a site. That site will be the top 10 sites of the world. Very few people believe that we will make it happen.
Jack's greatest strength is bringing together ordinary people to do these incredible things that they never thought was possible.
Most of my colleagues at 18 founders, they were my students, my friends. None of them are very successful. Among the 18 people, there are only 3 people who know something about computer.
Being first in China was a key. You've got to remember there was not a great infrastructure for even the telephone.
When Alibaba got started and when I joined the company, trying to sell businesses in China, the internet, was like trying to sell magic beans to someone. I mean, they couldn't see it, they couldn't touch it, and here was this guy, this kind of interesting looking English teacher, coming door to door to try and tell people they should spend their money, several thousands of dollars, to put their company on this thing called the internet.
What it really was an opportunity for corporations, really, in other parts of the world to try to source manufacturing in China via the web.
In the past 18 years, when I do internet in China, we got a criticism every day. You know, something when you believe it, a lot of people criticize it, but if you really believe it, continue to do it, improve it. We were rejected by more than 30 venture capitalists, but we are very optimistic. We believe in the future. We believe in internet, and we believe that if we do not succeed, somebody will.
The big investment came when Masayoshi-san of SoftBank met with Jack, and the story is that Masayoshi-san was in Beijing meeting with a number of internet entrepreneurs who presented very detailed business plans, but Jack Ma got up with no presentation and just a story, a vision of what he wanted to do, what he wanted Alibaba to become. And Masayoshi-san got so excited about it that he pledged to invest as much as $40 million in the company. And Jack Ma turned it down and said, you know what, we only need 20 million at this time.
Masa obviously gave capital to Jack Ma that he desperately needed, and also made the single greatest investment, one could argue, ever, period.
Jack Ma has played a very key role in sort of the development of the internet in China, but not as we originally imagined the internet would develop. He has used it as a vector for commerce.
So it started with some road shows with just maybe 100 people, then 200, then thousands more, where finally Jack turned this into a mass movement across China, where he educated small businesses about why they needed to use the internet. And he really created a revolution by educating these customers one person at a time.
This is such a big monster. It is something that never happened in the history before. So we think we are changing China. We are helping China to the second level.
He understood what technology could do for the Chinese people in terms of affording them access to the worlds of product, and he's done it.
Alibaba went from this sort of optimistic expansion phase to this somewhat depressing phase of cutting back. And I think for just a moment in time, he even wondered if the company would survive.
The ecosystem of Africa, the life is not decided by lion, tiger, and elephants. Life is decided by the minor insects. For us, consumers, small business are the key. If we can serve these consumers and small business well, big companies will get involved. They will start, coming. So if you keep a good size of shrimps, all the sharks will come. Big fish will come. When we started Alibaba B2B, we are helping small business to selling things across the board. So we think, which country has the best technology on the internet? We say USA. So we decided to build up a huge office in San Francisco.
But what happened was it created a disaster inside the company. We had a division where half the team was in the US, half the team was in China, and there was a lot of friction between the management.
So we know something wrong, we say, we have to shut down the office.
And it was at a time in 2000 when the internet bust had hit us really hard, and we were laying off staff around the world.
A lot of analysts think the internet bubble is ready to burst, and by this time next year, a huge number of those .coms might be .gone.
And Alibaba went from this sort of optimistic expansion phase to this somewhat depressing phase of cutting back. That was the only time I ever saw him doubt himself, is when he was laying off people, and I think for just a moment in time he even wondered if the company would survive. And from that moment on he realized that being a CEO is different from being an English teacher. Being a CEO means making the tough decisions and sometimes cutting back in order to allow the company to survive. So from that moment on, I never saw Jack doubt himself again.
I watched a wonderful movie called Forrest Gump. I was touched. He said, life's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you can get.
He really does love Forrest Gump.
But if you keep on getting, you will get one good chocolate.
He just sees it in some way as a corollary for the American dream and all the things you can potentially do in life.
And I found that Forrest Gump made a fortune by catching shrimps, not catching whales. So helping small business will make me like a Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump, just to keep on running. Be simple, serve the people.
He can try to compare himself to Forrest Gump. He can't ever be Forrest Gump. He is right out there, right in front, doing everything that he thinks will be in a pioneering spirit. He is a pioneer, much more than Forrest Gump was.
He has always had the courage to live with his decisions and to move on and to reinvent. And I think that is the very definition today of bravery.
In the early days, a lot of people were trying to tell him to change the way he talked and change the way he acted. It wasn't CEO-like enough.
We should not, throw out the baby because the baby is crying too much.
And I watched him that just by being himself and being authentic and speaking with his own voice was something people found refreshing, and it was something that was easy for us to get behind.
President Bush is continuing his Asian tour.
The death toll has risen in the mystery pneumonia-like illness gripping much of Asia. Officials say
China made history this morning, launching its first astronaut into orbit.
I first learned about Taobao when it was still just a secret project.
The Alibaba that we all know today began as Taobao, which is the marketplace by which people in China could sell things to other people.
Jack Ma, he pulled some of the key employees from Alibaba into his office and he said, listen, you're gonna have to go back to the original Alibaba apartment. You're gonna have to work in seclusion. You can't tell your friends, you can't tell your family, you can't even tell the other Alibaba employees about this.
So when we see something is coming, you have to prepare now.
He realized that eBay, sooner or later, as it grew in China, would start coming after Alibaba's customers.
Very interested in China right now. It could be one of our biggest markets.
My belief is that you have to repair the roof while it is still sunshine.
Taobao started free, and I think by announcing we're going to be free for 3 years, put a lot of pressure on eBay.
Point blank, he said, they're not going to succeed. I'm going to get them.
And eBay's reaction was to put out a press release saying, free is not a business model. But in fact, we knew that because we were getting so many people on to Taobao, because we were free in the early days, ultimately we could make money.
I always believe one thing. You lose only when you give up.
And in the end, as a surprise to eBay, Jack decided to do a deal with Yahoo.
Yahoo agreed to purchase Alibaba's shares for $1 billion in cash, which not only makes Yahoo the largest strategic investor in Alibaba, but also helps it grow its brand in China.
Jack's motivation for partnering with Yahoo was really, we can add that to the rest of our businesses and become a sort of an eBay plus a Google plus a Yahoo all combined together.
One of the reasons many multinational companies, they go to China, they want to compete with local companies instead of making custom happy.
Jack Ma did a sort of a minor miracle in beating eBay.
Another story out on eBay today. It's down 0.2%. eBay talking about cutting off at some point in time in the future its Chinese website.
eBay couldn't win there. They just didn't know what the hell they were doing.
When I got to succeed on something, I feel excited, I feel honored. Wow, why I have the chance?
We saw that there was a huge opportunity in China because in China, the banking is so inefficient. We realized if we could create a payment system, it could grow to much more than a payment system. It could become a financial institution.
And this opened, of course, a huge door because it enabled him there was no way to pay for things online. People didn't yet have credit cards. So with Alipay, he added a very important room onto his house. And that was the room of how do we get payments made.
Being creative in business is a whole nother kind of creativity, but creativity nonetheless. To be able to envision different business models, to be able to envision how life can change.
This was a true revolution in China, both in consumerism and in the Chinese economy.
This is huge. The number of products on Alibaba is gigantic. I don't know the number, but it's phenomenal.
I don't think I could ever appreciate the pressures that Jack Ma is under to be a hard-charging entrepreneur at the same time as he's a part of a communist system in some way that takes people away, leaders of businesses, and disappears them.
I believe the three things you should not touch: power, money, the glory. If you keep the power in your office, you will be in trouble. If you keep the money in your own pocket, you will be in trouble. If you put the glory in your head, you will be in trouble. So when you have money, spend the money supporting more people. When you have power, empower the others. When you have the glory, put the other people have that.
Joe, it's quite a mob here. There are more than 130 press organizations waiting here to see Jack Ma.
You felt like it was the Oscars?
I was in line because you have to admire that kind of thing.
The IPO of Alibaba was the single largest and the biggest day that I can remember in many ways.
And Alibaba, with its much anticipated IPO today.
It didn't disappoint. It went up enormously at the time.
This is the beginning of Alibaba.
It gave it a market value larger than that of Walmart on day one.
Ma himself has become China's richest man just by the founding of Alibaba. Today, he is expected to be worth north of $22 billion.
This was a very big deal for China, not just for Alibaba.
Today, what we got is not the money. What we got is the trust from the people.
When you go to the headquarters, it's very interesting. It's all young people. I don't think I saw anybody in the headquarters over 30.
When we hire a lot of people, I never see their diploma. I just see where they are optimistic, where they want to learn new things, want to change things, they want to work at teamwork.
Those people who are below 30 years old, they are the internet generation. They are the generation going to change the future. We think data is going to be so important to human life in the future. So now we just said we are the first runner. Compared to tomorrow, our data is nothing.
Jack Ma day to day is not running Alibaba. He is the visionary. He is the strategic thinker about the big picture.
Next 30 years, the technology is going to challenge a lot of job opportunities. People are already unhappy because a lot of machine learning, artificial intelligence killing a lot of jobs. People start to worry. So I think the good thing is that Technology is going to improve people's life.
Jack Ma is someone who always dreams big. I mean, really big. A lot of us have dreams, but Jack's dreams almost seem unrealistic. They're so big.
Machine is good in knowledge, but human beings are good at the wisdom.
You have to stay relevant, but at the same time, you also have to be a risk taker. And you have to shake things up a little bit.
What Alibaba want to do next to 10, 20 years is to enable the innovation of traditional business, transform the world, transform all the traditional retailer, manufacturer, financing sectors.
He's created one of the largest financial services companies in the country on the back of, in a sense, Alibaba.
We are enabling small business and young people to be able to reach financial support.
They're the first private company to become a bank approved by the Chinese government. I think it's monstrous. I think it's very important. But I would think that it's also probably nerve-wracking.
It's great to be Goliath if you're in an open society and a free economy. It can be very problematic to be a Goliath when the other Goliath is the Chinese Communist Party.
I don't think I could ever appreciate pressures that Jack Ma is under to be a hard-charging entrepreneur at the same time as he's a part of a communist system in some way. That takes people away, leaders of businesses, and disappears them.
It takes a lot of fancy footwork to keep on the right side of that.
So sometimes when I look at these business people doing things, I say, wow, I'm not going to do anything like that.
He realized that although the Chinese government didn't like the internet for political content or for the ability for people to criticize the government, what they did like about the internet was that it could help create jobs and help grow the economy.
Every day, more than 200 million people shopping through a mobile phone on our site.
You're seeing people in the middle of China with their smartphone press a few buttons and they can buy lobster from Maine or cherries from Washington.
I would argue the growth of the mobile phone was probably the single most important thing that has helped Alibaba become the giant it is.
We have more than 10, 20 million small business using our platform. And 60% of them, this business, never exist before Alibaba.
And he is so enthusiastic about what he's doing. And what he's doing is pretty simple. It takes a genius to think of the simple.
One of the secret sauce for Alibaba is that we have more than 48% of the people in the company, they are women.
He's supporting women in an era where, there's still residue disrespect for women. And I think for him to be able to bring that to China is extraordinary.
I do everything to making sure that my customer happy, employee happy, the society is good, is healthy. Social responsibility is the key.
For somebody who is sort of preposterously unlikely to have become what he's become, he's more or less stayed who he is.
He is someone who wants to do good, not only in business, but in the world.
He has the power to inspire other people. He has the ability to understand what he doesn't understand, but knows that he can find people who can and will for him.
I think he saw the possibilities of a new way of not only doing business, but of life.
He's focused on these bigger issues and where the company is going in the broad sort of arc of history.
If you were to ask Jack Ma what's his greatest accomplishment, it would not be, becoming the richest man in China or building a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. I think he might measure his own success by the impact that he's created on China rather than the impact he's created on just himself and his own team.
It's always scared, looking far away. Oh my God, that's a difficult place. Go there, test. Jump into it. You never learn swim until you're in the water.